This is a Dark Illumination Report Extra with RJ Womack.
Hey folks, Brother Nero here. Thanks for joining me for another episode. This is Season 3, Episode 3 of the Dark Illumination Report podcast. And today I don't have much to tell you. I don't have many announcements, but the one thing I did want to let you know is that we're in the process of still trying to get the podcast up on many of the directories like Spotify and Google Play and Apple iTunes or whatever it's called now. So we're still working on that. It usually takes a couple of weeks, but it will be available on many of these locations. So just bear with us on that. But I'm still trying to work on it and see what's the holdup. So anyway, but the next thing I would say is I'm going to try to get that information about advertising up by the end of next week. So I should have that available for you. Before we go on too much further, I want to go back and recap a little bit about the life's purpose, part of the life plan. Now, I wanted to talk a little bit about Robert Greene and what he had to say about a life's purpose. In his book called Mastery, he talks about that true masters like Leonardo da Vinci and people like that always had an idea from an early age of what they wanted to do. I mean, it was just natural to them, and it came natural to them. And he says that in order to find your true calling, or that thing which you were meant to be here for, or that thing you were created for, the way to do that is to go back to your childhood and examine your childhood and connect back with those things that meant something to you when you were younger. And for me, that was always Satanism. By the time I was 12, I was already interested in Satanism. Satanism has been a constant part of my life, so I know that that's my true calling. I have no doubt about that. And the biggest reason I haven't, succeeded to the level I would like to, meaning that my books get read by more people, this podcast is heard by more people, is because of my own lack of self-discipline. It has nothing to do with whether it's my true calling or not. I have, a flaw within me that makes me not do everything that I'm supposed to do. And in case you're wondering, the reason I talk to you about like some of my shortcomings and my procrastination and my lack of discipline is because I want you to understand that everybody's imperfect, that everybody fails, that everybody doesn't reach their full potential or live up to their own expectations very often. If anything, we fall short more often than we succeed. And I want to kind of emphasize that to you and let you know that no matter where you're at, no matter what your circumstances are, you can change your life. It's just a matter of choice and a matter of changing your habits. And this is very important for a Satanist to understand because in my view, in my particular tradition, the tradition that I teach, I believe that we're supposed to be the architects of our own destiny. And the way we become architects of our own destiny is by shaping our choices, shaping our habits, getting rid of those things that are bad habits that keep us from our goals. And that's the whole purpose of a life plan. It's to help you to eliminate those things that take you away from being the person you want to be and help you to become more of the person you want to be. So if you want to succeed, if you want to be closer to achieving your goals, if you want to shape yourself into a certain type of person, then you have to start acting and living like that person you want to be. If your vision of yourself is to be a disciplined person, to be an entrepreneur, to be a minister for Satan, then you have to start living that way. And you do that one day at a time. And you do that by, changing your life one habit at a time. And that discipline is extremely important. And that's one of the reasons why I will be emphasizing that on this podcast on a regular basis. One of the things you need to understand, though, before you undertake this project of changing yourself and shaping yourself and molding yourself is that it's better to change one or two things at a time and not to do too much more than that, because if you do, then you're going to overwhelm yourself and you're going to wear down your willpower and you're not going to succeed. And it's highly likely that you're going to fail. So, what you want to do is figure out your life's purpose, figure out your core principles, which we're going to talk about today, and then plan out your goals for your life for the next 10 years, right? Or 5 years if you prefer. Some people, it's too hard to get their head around the idea of planning your goals for 10 years. So if you prefer, do 1 year, 3 years, and 5 years, which is typical of business or entrepreneurs to do that. And make sure that you cover every aspect of your life when you do this. Don't worry too much about your goals at the moment. More, what you need to worry about at this moment is trying to focus on your core principles. And your core principles are those things which you are unwilling to compromise. And the way I suggest people do this is come up with 3 to 5 core principles that you are unwilling to compromise, things that you believe in, things that you would be willing to die for, that you're not willing to compromise for any amount of money, for anything in the world. Whatever those beliefs are, write them down in minute detail. And the reason you want to write them down in minute detail is because if you write them down and you know what they are, and then you review them on a weekly basis, which you should do with your life plan in addition to your life's purpose, then that'll keep you on track and keep you from doing things you don't want to do, or keep you from living your life in a way you don't want to live it. Because if you don't have a life plan and if you don't constantly review where you're at, what ends up happening typically is that people end up in relationships with people they don't want to be with a life and a job they don't want, never wanted, and they're not doing what they dreamt about. They're not doing what they feel they're here for. And the way you keep yourself from becoming a person like that is to take your core, your life's purpose, your core principles, you make sure they're in alignment with each other, and you make sure that they're consistent with each other, right? And you follow that as your guiding principle, as your blueprint throughout your life. And the way you do that is by, again, reviewing it each and every week. Take 1 day a week where you sit down and reread your life plan and make sure that your actions are in harmony with the things you say you want to do and the things you say you want to become. Because if you want to become something, if you want to change your life, you have to start by doing the actions that will make you into that person, that will shape you into that person, will mold you into that person every day. And like I said, if you overdo it and you try to do too much and you change yourself too much, you're more than likely going to fail, because the human being only has so much willpower to change their behavior. They can only do so much before they're going to fail. A lot of people, a lot of neuroscientists believe that willpower is not infinite. In other words, we have a limited amount of willpower every day, right? And if we try to do too many new things at once, then we're inevitably going to fail. So they suggest that you only change 1 or 2 habits at a time, nothing more. One of the things we want to do is make sure that we start out with very small, very manageable habits. Let's take, for example, let's say you want to become a freelance writer, but you've never been a writer. You don't go out and start writing 2,000 words a day. You start by writing 150 or 200 words a day. And you keep that up for a week, and then you increase it by 1 to 5% every week until you get up to the amount you want. That's how you should do it. And by doing it in these small amounts, it's going to help you tend to achieve more and be more consistent. Because as you begin to see these successes in your life, you'll be more motivated to do more stuff and to do more work. So whatever it is that you do, whether it's an exercise program or some other activity, always make sure you cut your goal in half. So like if you think you should be writing 1,000 words a day, then make your maximum limit 500 words a day. I use writing because it's something simple and it's something easy and it's something I can relate to. And then as time goes on, let me recap again, increase the amount by 1 to 5% a day or per week, depending on the nature of the thing you're trying to do. This is very important to not overwhelm yourself. But like I said, the main thing is to get your core principles down, those core values that you're not willing to compromise. And what I would suggest is you sit down today, you meditate on those core principles, those things that you believe that are important to you, and you write them down in detail. And again, don't have more than 3 to 5 core principles. Try to narrow down your core beliefs into 3 to 5 things, because the more things you have, the more core principles or the more goals you have, the more difficult it's going to be for you to be consistent. And what you want to do is develop the habit, develop the consistency and the habit to do these things every day. And if you overwhelm yourself with too many things at once, you will not succeed. That's the most important thing. Well, that's about it, guys. Make sure you go by the website and sign up for my mailing list if you haven't already done so. We're going to start trying to use that mailing list and try to get it more active than it has been in the past. It's my fault. I haven't really done much with it. The main reason is because I haven't really decided the best way to make the content on the mailing list unique. Right now, I'm pretty much posting some of the same things I'm posting on my webpage, but I'm going to try to focus on providing the subscribers to that mailing list with unique content. And also, that's the best way to win something if I have any holiday giveaways, which I haven't done recently, but I meant to do them on a regular basis. And the reason I'm doing that is because I want people to reconnect their Satanism with the religious holidays, with the solstices and equinoxes. And it's just my way of trying to help rebuild the holiday tradition of giving things away and giving gifts to my listeners on holidays, because I want you to connect those solstices and those equinoxes with the religious holidays they represent. That's part of my job as a minister, I believe, is to try and help rebuild old traditions or reestablish old traditions that Satanists have kind of forgotten and let go by the wayside. So again, please sign up for my mailing list, or if you know somebody who would be interested, let them know. And please pass on the word about this podcast if you know somebody who would appreciate the message. And remember, Satan's a God of knowledge and wisdom. And in order for us to serve him effectively, we need to be as educated and informed as we possibly can be. So always strive to be ever more than you are. Always strive to do your best, and always strive to keep learning.
Thank you for listening to the Dark Illumination Report podcast. For the latest news headlines, show information, and more, go to rjwomack.com. That's rjwomack.com.